how could you make music sound like a songbird? Well, I hope you enjoyed the clip from this week's music lesson where we look at the French composer Saint-Saëns and how he did this with his Carnival of the Animals aviary. So how does the composer Saint-Saëns copy the songbird? That was our question. Well, there are at least 7 ways that I think the composer does it. So what are those 7 ways? Well, there was the thin texture, creating that feeling of space in the aviary, in the bird enclosure. There were the bird-like instruments. There was quiet dynamics, fast arpeggios, tremolos, trills, and chromatic scales. They were like 7 things I wanted to draw together. And what I'd like to do now is have a look at the score and listen to the music as we try to see, again, those 7 ingredients. Some of them we had last time and a couple of new ones. So let me just have a quick look. And let's try and look out for, first of all, let's go through that first point about the thin texture. So remember, the texture was like whether the music was thick or thin. If there were lots of parts, it was like really dense, or if it was quite light and airy. We said before that it was a thin texture. Have a listen. That's better, I hope. And just compare that to if I play some things on the piano of a thick texture, whatever it might be. Not necessarily low on the piano, it could be anywhere. But it's something that's, it's got real meat to it. It's a thicker texture, lots more more notes, basically kind of crammed in. But that wasn't what we had with aviary, was it? It was this airy, spacious sound. So that was one thing. Let's go back to this again. Let's listen to the bird-like instruments. Okay, so we talked about the flute, didn't we? Playing that main melody. And do you remember we said that to play such fast notes, there was this technique called double tonguing. So instead of in a wind instrument, instead of just going ta 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 ta, you can go taga 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 taga. Quicker, basically. And that's how the flautist, who plays the flute, can produce such quick notes. Let's just listen to those again with that appreciation again of the double tonguing that has to happen. Ready? Beautiful, isn't it? And doesn't that really sound like a songbird? Songbirds, they have such quick... basically, what we have here is a trill. And that was one of the other ones we pointed out, a trill. That quick way that the notes switch between one note and the other. Basically, a rapid alternating between 2 notes. So hang on, where have we got to? Thin texture, instruments that make it sound like a bird. We talked about the trills as well. We also pointed out these little things here, didn't we? Do you remember the signs here? Tremolos. So when you have these dashes going through the stem of the note here, it tells the performer to go quickly as these. If you look carefully, what you'll notice is how many beams do we have running along here? There are 3. And how many dashes are running through the notes? There are also 3. So actually that means you play these at the same speed as these. The name for these notes here, the rhythm values, are demi-semi-quavers. There you go. There's a long word to learn from today's lesson. Demi-semi-quavers. And that's really the speed that this tremolo is being played at as well. Should we ever listen to that again? Maybe. If you listen carefully, I guess you can understand what I mean. That's the same speed, isn't it? Let's just hear it one more time. There it goes. So, beautiful little detail that the tremolo, the speed of the tremolo is picked up by the flute, isn't it, when it comes in? And we did say last time, I think there are a few suggestions as to what this sounded like, what these strings with the tremolo, what that sounded like. Feel free to just mention it again. I was thinking back to last lesson, and I think there was a thought of like a buzz, that kind of faint buzz that you can get in a bird enclosure or a forest. Hearing that. I was also thinking today that it's a bit like the ruffling of feathers. Do you think maybe that's, a sound that you hear as well in a bird enclosure? But there you are. That's that. Okay, so we've covered quite a lot. Thin texture, bird-like instruments, quiet dynamics. No, we haven't. The quiet dynamics. So it's not a loud piece, is it? At no point is it really that loud, and that's about right. An aviary, a bird enclosure, is quite a peaceful, quiet place to be. Although there are bird noises, it's nothing like a train going by, is it? It's very light. So 5-minute warning. Thank you for that reminder. Let's listen to that quiet dynamic. Where are we? Down here. Yeah. And there's one more thing. Did I mention already? Fast arpeggios. So fast arpeggios, if you're wondering what's an arpeggio, well, just quickly, at the beginning we often go do, re, mi, fa, sol. Okay, so if we were to pick every other note, do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, mi, sol, and then you kind of do, mi, so, do, mi, so, do, mi, so, do, so, mi, do. I'm sorry, go backwards. Then that's an arpeggio. You're going through the root of the chord, do, the third, which is the mi, the fifth, which is the so, and then you go up to the do again. Do, mi, so, mi, do. And if you look at the key we're in aviary is actually F major. So let's get that one in. Do, mi, so, do. And if you listen carefully to the flute part, you'll notice that actually we have one. Not at the beginning. There. Did you hear it? This bit, this is an arpeggio. So this is one of the new things I wanted to talk about today. An arpeggio. Let's hear it again. Here we are. It's so fast, it's easy to miss it. But that is do, mi, so, do, mi, actually. That's what you have. And to me, I was thinking, when I was listening to that, I think, okay, so what's that showing in the music? And how does that kind of show an aviary, a bird enclosure? And I thought, well, birds, they're darting about very, very quickly, aren't they? And they can, be low 1 second and then half a second later, they're very, very high. And that's what arpeggios do. You can go up and down in pitch really quickly because you're skipping notes. So I thought I'd mention that as an extra little thing. And there was one more thing that we mentioned last time, that was chromatic scales, where you basically play every note. Let's look out for them. Not yet. More trills. Okay, the first one's in the piano parts. There. And now the flute. And the flute again. Sorry, I skipped that. There we are. There we are. There we go. And beautiful, isn't it? And so we talked about, I think last time, the amazing thing about birds, songbirds, that they have this syrinx, this like two vocal chambers in their throat, and they can actually sing two notes at the same time, and it's amazing. So all of this stuff, Saint-Saëns, whether or not he knew that, but anyway, he was trying to mimic the sound of the birds. And I thought, well, it's a good lesson for us. The next time we listen to some program music, which is, don't forget, music that's designed to paint a picture using sound. Often the title is really describing something clear, like this one, Aviary, or elephant or something like that. So whenever you hear a piece like that, think to yourself, what are the ingredients in the music that make it sound like that thing? Because often you can hear it, oh yeah, it does sound just like that. But then ask the question, well, why? What is it about the music? Is it the texture, being thick or thin? Is it the choice of instruments? Is it the dynamics, loud and soft? Is it the speed of the music? Is there some special technique, double tonguing on a woodwind instrument or something? And why do we ask those questions? Well, obviously it can make listening to music a lot more fun. That's one reason. But it also does something else very special. What's that? You might have noticed I've used the word ingredients a few times just then, and that was deliberate. Because if you've ever had this where maybe a friend has made a really yummy cake for you, perhaps you've had that, or flapjack or something, and often what you would ask is, oh, wow, can you give me the recipe, please? And why do you ask that? Not because you're not going to put it up on the wall and say, oh, look at that, it's a recipe. Yeah, someone made me this cake once and I thought I'd just get the recipe and put it on the wall. No, that's not the reason. It's because you want to make it again yourself, don't you? You want to make your own version of it. And the same is true musically. If you know the ingredients that make up a certain type of sound, then why can't you take those ingredients and make your own? That's the point. And that's actually going to be your homework this week to make. And it's a kind of a half-term homework because there won't be a lesson next week with it being half-term for most of you. So you're going to get a chance to make your own version of aviary, of a bird enclosure. Now, I really am quite open to loads of different ways of doing this. I don't mind how you do it. You might want to just go for a walk in the woods with your grown-ups and record some bird song, and maybe you can combine that on the computer. If you don't know how to do that, later in the term we're going to talk a bit more about how we can do things like that. But there's one lovely natural way to do it. If we get more storms and it's not safe to go walking in the woods, then please don't. Maybe you can make some bird sounds at home using things in the home. Or you could, of course, use like Chrome Music Labs. In fact, I was going to show you quickly. Here we go, look. Chrome Music Labs. So most of you have seen me use this before, but if you haven't, don't worry. It's quite easy to get and it's free and whatnot. But I mean, I was just messing around and made this. I didn't finish it. But what did I do? Well, a couple of things. Okay, settings. You go to settings and then start on, I think it's by default it does middle C, but I would say do high C so that the sound is higher. That's got to be that for a bird sound, hasn't it? And then I split beats into 4 instead of 2, and that just means I can do some funky rhythms, which I've chosen the conga for, which I think gives quite a nice little thing. And the woodwind, you see I've selected woodwind, which gives the nice character. And to be honest, what did I do with these notes? I was just messing around, and I think I did this. I'm not suggesting you do the same thing, but don't overthink it. Just have a bit of fun. So that's great for younger students watching. If you're a little bit older and you think, yeah, you know what, I want a bit more of a project, then I was doing something on Dorico. Here's Dorico, look. Now, I know this has been a bit tricky for some to get their head around how to just install it, actually. But if you get it installed, you can have a lot of fun with it. You can create your own, like I was just selecting a few instruments. I think when you do setup up here, you can add different players. Down at the bottom, it says add player. So I added a player for the flute, and then one for the glockenspiel, one for the violin, and double bass, which you may not want if it's just going to be like a birdie type thing. I don't know if this will play, but I'll try. Yeah, and then this, by the way, if you're wondering what on earth all this is a mistake. When I left Dorico, those notes weren't there. I think it must have been when I was doing the warm-up with you guys at the beginning of the lesson. It just put it into Dorico. Anyway, this bit at the beginning is really what I wanted to look at with you. But, you know, you can do loads of things with this. I mean, I was just playing, what was I doing? I think I just... So you double click and then you kind of go into like, you can put these notes in and you select the note values. If you can do these notes here, the tika, 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 tika. Oh, I don't want that there. I'm going to drag it up a little bit. You know, you can change it quite easily. And then you think, okay, let's press escape and select those. We're going to copy it, Control C, Control V to paste it. And then you start having this repetition, which often works really well in music, as you know. Let's have a listen to that, just adding that. You can't really hear it because the other parts are so loud, but it's there. And you could think, right, okay, I'm going to take those 3 notes, I'm going to move them up a little bit, and I'm going to take these and move them up a little bit. And it's just ideas, things you can try out, If you take a pattern and then put it in a different place or do something different with it, you might be pleasantly surprised with the effect. Well, if you enjoyed that, then subscribe. There'll be more videos just like that coming on very soon.